Hello, and welcome to On the Line, a weekly program dedicated to issues, causes, and events impacting our community. Here is your host, Dan Michaels.
This morning on the Line, we are joined by Kate Brouse. She is the PR director for NTI. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the Line this morning, and I want to start off by letting everyone know who is listening. What is NTI?
That is what I am here to share with people today. NTI is a nonprofit organization that helps disabled Americans find at-home jobs. We were founded in 1995, and we have a great story of our origins.
Well, please feel free and tell it.
Great. So anyone who has ever taken a class in psychology might be familiar with the name B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner is sometimes considered the most influential psychologist of the 20th century, specifically for his theory of behavior modification, which involved reward and punishment to shape and train behavior. And in his work, he actually did lots of testing and training with animals. The founder of NTI, Dr. Willard, was actually a research assistant for B.F. Skinner and was helping him conduct some of these experiments, and she was working with monkeys. And she realized that monkeys were easily trainable and might be able to be used to help people who were quadriplegic due to a spinal cord injury. And she figured that monkeys could be trained to help them do simple tasks like brush teeth, turn lights on and off, or change the channel on the TV. And that's how she first became involved with the disability community.
So how does, when you say about training monkeys, we obviously know that training monkeys is not what NTI does, but how is it that by seeing the training of monkeys and training monkeys that has to do with what we're talking about with NTI and helping those with disabilities? Well, how does that correlate?
Okay, let me tell you that. I'm sure on occasion many of us feel like trained monkeys in our daily lives as we jump through hoops and do things that we need to do. But no, NTI does not train monkeys. We help disabled Americans find work-at-home jobs. And the way that came about is while Dr. Willard was working with the disability community, she kept hearing the common refrain over and over is that we can't get jobs. No one will give us a chance. And so she started by just helping one individual, and she approached a company and said to them, hey, I know a great person who is disabled and needs to work at home. Will you give them a chance? And they said yes, and that person was hired. And then she helped one person, another person, and then another person. And soon she had many different people within the disability community wanting her help and services. And so she sat back and said, how can I meet all of these needs? Because these are people that need jobs. When she did a little bit of research and founded NTI back in 1995, and now, nearly 25 years later, we are the national leader in helping Americans with disabilities find those at-home jobs.
And now, when you say at-home jobs, take us through what types of jobs NTI provides or helps clients get into.
That is a really great question because obviously when you're working at home, there are limited jobs that you can do. The jobs that we currently have available are usually as customer service agents and IT help desk jobs for various companies. Because we've been doing this for so long, we've partnered with companies of all sizes and shapes. Some may only need 2 or 5 people to work at home as customer service agents, and some hire hundreds of people.
As you've just told us, and by the way, just so that everyone knows, we are talking with Kate Brouse. She's the PR director for NTI. So NTI obviously finds work for other companies, employees, and things of that nature. But take us through, for NTI, do you actually place people to work directly for NTI?
We do. We hire up to 300 individuals at a time to work in our virtual call center that our call center agents run. So during tax season, if you have occasion to call the forms and publications line, you'll actually be speaking to a disabled American who is working from home, employed by NTI.
That is wonderful. Now, how many jobs does NTI have available at any one time? And I don't just mean just NTI specifically, but in general, is there an average number of jobs that you have available at any given time?
The number of jobs that we do have does fluctuate year in and year out. We always have jobs available, and we're usually able to help about 600 Americans a year find employment that they are seeking to do at home, and that number is really growing rapidly right now.
What do you find is, you say the number is of available jobs and jobs coming in that you guys can send and train folks out for. You say that's rapidly growing, but what do you equate that rapid growth to?
The unemployment rate, I actually looked it up right before this interview to see what the September statistics were, which would be the latest results, and it's at 3.5%, and that's an historic low. And so what that means is that there are fewer people to fill open positions that companies have. So companies are turning to underutilized populations, and that includes the disability community, which is a good thing because the unemployment rate among the disability community is more than double that of the rest of the population. It currently stands around 8%. But what all of that means is that NTI has, for the first time ever, more jobs available than we do have people to fill them, which is why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be today to speak with you on the line and to reach your listeners, maybe some of whom have a disability and are looking for work, or can pass this information along to a friend or relative or neighbor who is.
Absolutely. We are talking with Kate Brouse. She is the PR director for NTI. So, Kate, one of the main questions that we like to ask here when it comes to an organization such as NTI here on the Line is, how is NTI funded?
That is a really great question. Our funding comes from two main sources. One is the companies with whom we partner. We train all of the agents before they're allowed to apply for the jobs, and the people that we have usually are very high caliber and stick on the job for a long time. So the companies who have hired our agents, usually they stick around for a long time, and often those companies come back to us and say, hey, we love the people that you sent to us. We want and need more. So that's one source of our funding. The other comes from the Social Security Administration's Ticket to Work program. Are you familiar with that one?
I have not heard that.
So the Ticket to Work program is part of the Social Security Administration's efforts to help people in the disability community who are interested in going back to work find out if it's actually the right thing for them. Obviously, having a disability is a very complicated situation, and the Ticket to Work program allows people who are, considering, hey, is this something that I want to do, to partner with hundreds of employment networks across the United States. NTI is one of those employment networks. We are a nonprofit employment network. There are also for-profit networks, but the end goal of all of them is the same, and that's to help disabled Americans make an informed decision. Is going back to work the right thing for me? If so, what kind of job do I want or can I do? And NTI has a vested interest in helping people make that decision. Something that I love to let people know who are on disability and considering going back to work that they may not know is that you do not lose your benefits at all. They don't touch one penny of it for at least 9 months. So you have 9 months to go back to work and make as much as you want and see if it's the right situation for you before the Social Security Administration would take a look and say, let's see whether you are really needing all of these benefits or not. And that's actually really, really important, Dan, because people really need that time to evaluate. Some people think they're absolutely ready to go back to work, get a job, and say, this isn't working for me. And some people are like, I don't know if I can do this. Get on the job, and they're like, this is great. I love this interaction and this independence.
Now, I'm going to ask you a yes or no question here, Kate, and then depending on your answer, I have a little bit of a longer question. So the yes or no question is, are NTI services free?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say free, that seems, it's a great word, but can also be a word that elicits, okay, well, there's got to be a catch. So when you say NTI services are free to your clients, do you really mean absolutely free?
Dan, I mean totally, 100%, absolutely free for the disabled Americans. And we, again, like I mentioned, our funding comes from the Social Security Administration's Ticket to Work program, as well as the companies that we partner with who want to be able to hire the best employees they can, and that's what NTI provides them. So, there's a huge economic advantage to having as much of the population employed as possible. Anyone who wants a job would benefit from having a job. So the government is happy to partner with employment networks like NTI that offer job services to the disability community. And that's exactly what we've done. We started this all those years ago in 1995 when Dr. Willard first helped one person get a job, then founded NTI, to today where we are the nationwide leader in helping disabled Americans find at-home jobs. Like I mentioned, there are many employment networks, but NTI stands out because we are the only one that partners with companies who offer solely at-home employment. So we are a niche in that market. So someone who wants to or needs to work at home and has a disability can use us as a great resource.
Now, NTI provides training. You've said that, and I want to expound upon that a little bit, because a lot of people, when they think of job training, they think of facilities, and there are several around our area, and it's a very broad term as far as training goes. It's more how to perform in the workplace, how to make sure you answer a phone call, a little bit about customer service, and it kind of runs the gamut. And I'm not saying that those programs are not beneficial, but does NTI provide specific training? So if a company, like you said, just comes to you and says, we have 300 positions, here's what it's going to be, all these different things, does NTI get specific in the training for those jobs, or is it more general?
You know, that is a good question, and the answer is that we do provide more of that general training, because then once people are hired by one of our partner companies, they get additional training on the job. So it would be pointless for us to help someone have the skills to be a pharmaceutical customer service agent when what they would end up getting hired for would be somebody helping with something in a totally different area like retail. So we do provide them the basic training that is expected, and then once people are hired, there's different levels of training, anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months for the different companies that are employing them.
You've mentioned that the training for people with disabilities is so that they can work from home, and it's a wonderful, wonderful program that you have. Now, with that being said, it stands to reason that if a person would not be able to leave home to work, that they might not, or would have a difficult time leaving home for training. So is the training for NTI's positions, is it all done online?
It absolutely is. With our NTI at Home program, where we do train you to be a customer service agent or an IT help desk technician at home, all of the training is done online. It's broken up into two sections. One is self-paced, and one is instructor-led. So for the instructor-led parts, you are expected to be there, logged into your computer for those certain periods of time, but the rest of it really is self-paced. And the nice thing is that we have just recently implemented what we call our Fast Track program. That's for people who come to us already having a lot of customer service experience, or maybe they've worked in a call center sometime within the past few years. They have the option to take a test, which enables them to skip almost 100% of our training. For those people, it's basically all administrative work that we have to do. And so from the time they might register for our services until the time that they are actually able to apply for the jobs that we do have available is like 48 hours. And again, most of that is just completely time that we need to do the administrative things so that they can be in the candidate pool and apply for those jobs.
We're talking with Kate Brouse. She's the PR director for NTI. Kate, does NTI offer programs, other programs that serve the disability community?
We absolutely do, and the one that I've been mentioning thus far is called NTI at Home, and it's been around the longest. Several years ago, we started another program called LandAJob. LandAJob provides a unique opportunity as well, but it serves the disability population in a different way. It has two parts, Dan. The first one is for people who already have a job and are earning a consistent income. For those people, LandAJob provides job expense reimbursements of up to $13,000.
Wow. So
people who are working and receiving Social Security disability income or supplemental security income, that's often referred to as SSDI or SSI, for those people, you can get reimbursed for everything from transportation or daycare, whether that's elder care or child care, for required uniforms, cell phones, computers, anything that you can prove that's a job-related expense is 100% reimbursable. So that is a really great tool.
Now, can people use both parts of the LandAJob? Can they use it to find a job and then possibly get reimbursed for job expenses?
Well, absolutely, and let me tell you about how LandAJob helps people find a job. The other population that LandAJob serves is those who are looking for work. And for those people, they have access to a database that is maintained and constantly updated every day by LandAJob that has over 600,000 active jobs that are opening, and they're all with companies who are ready and willing to hire people with disabilities across the continental United States, as well as in Hawaii and Alaska and even Guam. So someone who is not looking for an at-home job, but who is looking for the traditional on-site job, that's a huge resource. And we have jobs available in basically any vertical you can imagine. It's hospitality and healthcare and food service and technology and industry and media, you name it. The database is searchable by profession, location, by current openings. It lists everything from basic entry-level jobs all the way up to C-level executive suite jobs. It's a great resource. So if you are looking for a job, all of those are available. And then in addition, if you'd qualify to be part of LandAJob, you have access to that, as well as a bunch of free resources online to help with job search. We have self-paced courses that you can take on resume writing or interview skills. Most of the people that come to us have been out of the workforce for 3 to 5 years following a disability, and sometimes they just feel a little bit rusty or they just need a little bit of help, and we provide all of that along the way.
I'm going to ask a question, Kate. I believe in my research prior to our interview that I saw that NTI offers mentoring. Did I read that incorrectly?
In fact, our mentoring program is one of the things that sets us apart from a lot of the other employment networks that are out there. We are very proud of our mentoring program. And in fact, just last year, we were honored to be inducted into the Susan M. Daniels Mentoring Hall of Fame. That's sponsored by the National Disability Mentoring Coalition that's based in the D.C. area. And it honors individuals and organizations both who have made a difference in the lives of disabled people through mentoring. And our mentoring program is very special because it's totally inclusive, which means from the moment you're accepted into our program with NTI at home, you're paired with a mentor. And that person is there to be your cheerleader, that shot in the arm that you need to answer your questions, and they stay with you not only through your training, not only through your job search, not only through your interviewing and getting hired, but all the way through the first 90 days of successful employment on a job, which means that someone who is hired and is like, I'm not really sure that I can tell my employer that I am having a problem with this, or I need such and such an accommodation. And the e-mentor is a great liaison between the employer and the employee to help with any of those kind of situations. And what makes our e-mentors so great is they've all been in those positions. All of our e-mentors have personal experience of working while having a disability.
We're talking with Kate Brouse. She's the PR director for NTI. And Kate, we're at about 2/3 of the way through our interview time today, our allotment for this. We're going to finish this and still have a lot of ground that we could cover. But before I forget, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention this. So everyone who's listening today and hearing Kate talk so eloquently and in such great detail about NTI, they may be thinking, all right, Dan, all right, Kate, you sold me on the program. It's a great program, but this is a national program. What does it have to do with our area? Now, our area includes Greencastle, Hagerstown, Chambersburg, Waynesboro, and everywhere in between. So, Kate, I know you mentioned some numbers before to me last week. You and I had a chance to speak leading up to our interview today, but the NTI has helped people in our area. Can you give us those statistics?
Absolutely. In preparation for being able to discuss this with you, I did go into our system and I looked up the number of people that we have been able to help in your geographical area. And since 1995, when we started and we have those statistics available, we've helped nearly 9,000 people with our general services, and we've helped 820 of those be successful at finding and keeping employment.
Wonderful. Now, let's break in, and now that we've covered that, and that you don't need to know any more information than that as to whether or not NTI can help you or has helped. Probably chances are someone that you know who has a disability has been helped by NTI. But we're going to talk now about some of the celebrities that have teamed up with NTI, and you said, Dan, if you have time, why don't you ask us about the celebrities? You were really excited about this, Kate, so I'm going to let you take this. Tell us about the celebrity help that you guys have.
Oh, I am so excited about this because we work with some really great people within the disability community. Our first celebrity relationship was actually with country recording artist Craig Campbell, and you will just never meet a nicer guy, Dan. He is just as great as you can ever imagine. And while Craig doesn't have a disability of his own, He is passionate about advocating for disability and cancer in particular. His father died from colon rectal cancer, and I think his father was only 36 years old when that happened. So Craig was still young at the time, and it caused a huge impact on him. So he is the national spokesperson for Fight Colorectal Cancer, an organization that raises money to fight that disease, and they've raised more than $335,000 over the years to help fight that. And he deserves a shout out for that, and also for helping NTI and helping us spread the word about the jobs that we do offered to the disability community, which includes people who are recovering from and or fighting cancer on a daily basis.
Now, who else are you partner with as far as celebrity partnerships go? Is there anyone else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume that there was, but
we actually have been really lucky. We have a lot of celebrity partnerships. Probably the most well-known that people would recognize is the band Portugal the Man, and they won a Grammy last year. And many people that I talk to are like, oh, I don't know the band Portugal the Man, but when I start humming a refrain from their popular song, Feel It Still, they're like, oh, yeah, I know that. And, it goes something like, woo, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. And as soon as I do that, and excuse my terrible singing, people are like, oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Before you did that, I was thinking, who is that? But now I know.
Yeah, see? That's the way it works. So the band's lead guitarist, his name is Eric Hawk, and he is one of NTI spokespeople. He does have a disability. He fell into a hole and fractured his spine, and it left his legs paralyzed. So he uses a wheelchair for mobility. Now, anyone who is familiar with the band will know that they are huge social justice advocates, and I so admire them for that. And they're across the board, not just within the disability community, but having Eric as a member of the band and seeing what he has to go through when he's traveling and has a disability, it's really opened them up to the disability community in a unique way. And they've been really great partners to help us spread the word about the job services that we do offer to the disability community.
We're talking with Kate Brouse. She's the PR director for NTI. Kate, to receive any job services through NTI, what does a disabled American need to do? How do they facilitate that?
It's really easy. The first thing you just need to go do is register. And to know if you qualify, anyone who is receiving SSI or SSDI, and as I mentioned before, that's supplemental security income or Social Security disability income. Anyone who falls into that category automatically has what is called a ticket to work, even if they don't know it. And anyone who wants to confirm that can just call their local Social Security Administration offices and say, hey, what is this ticket to work thing that I heard about on the radio? And they can confirm that. So I would imagine that all of your listeners probably have a ticket to work if they're receiving SSI or SSDI. And so to apply for one of our jobs, it's just simply going online and registering. It only takes a few minutes, and there's no obligation that comes with that. Your information is secure. We don't sell it to anyone else, and it's entirely an internal system. Once you're registered, you're able to speak with one of our solution advisors and or e-mentors to really help you figure out, is NTI the right fit for me, or should I go elsewhere? And we're going to help people figure out what is the best thing. We have no interest in trying to help people get a job that are like, yeah, this really isn't for me. Because then when they get on the job, they're not going to be successful. And so that is the first line that we have, is that if you're receiving SSI or SSDI and you think you might want to work, call. And that's true for both our NTI at Home and our LandAJob program. Our NTI at Home program does have one more way that you can qualify for it, and that's if you're working with a vocational rehabilitation counselor. Vocational rehabilitation counselors exist in all 50 states, and their job is to help people who have mental or physical disabilities try to get back into the workforce. And so if someone that's out there listening is working with a vocational rehab counselor and is interested in NTI, not all counselors have heard about us, but if you go to them and you say, hey, I heard about this organization, can you work with them to help me get an at-home job? Most of them are willing to work with us.
Kate, I'm going to wrap up here, and I have two questions, and I think they put a nice bow on what we've been talking about today. We're talking with Kate Brouse. She's the PR director for NTI. And in case we run short on time, Kate, because we have about 3.5 minutes, I want to say thank you for joining us for this interview today on the Line. It means a lot.
My pleasure.
The first question is, and we're going to try to roll through these here quickly. Do disabled Americans who want to get help from NTI, are there any pre-qualifications for the at-home jobs?
The at-home jobs are something that we will train you for. It helps if you come with some computer skills. As I mentioned before, when you come to us, we know that most likely, statistically, you've been out of a job for between 3 and 5 years, sometimes even longer. And so we don't ask for a lot of pre-qualifications. Previous customer service experience is definitely a benefit, but the only things that you usually have to have in order to do one of our jobs is you have to have some sort of a computer at home that can run current programs, and that you have to have reliable high-speed internet because you are doing home jobs from home, and you need to be able to have that connection in order to communicate and be a customer service agent from afar, doing that virtually.
And our final question, Kate, is now once someone has decided they'd like to check out NTI, what is the process? What should anyone listening do right now if they say that's probably for me, I want to give it a shot? What do they need to do?
Well, the best way is just to contact us, and we have a toll-free phone number at 877-248-8912, or they can visit the websites for our various programs. The one is NTIathome.org, and the other one is LandAJob.org. And I would just remind listeners that is a .org because we are a nonprofit, so that's NTIathome.org or LandAJob.org. Get in touch, and we can figure out what the best situation is and whether we want to proceed, because we have so many jobs available right now.
We've been talking with Kate Brouse, PR Director for NTI. Kate, our time has come to a close. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Line.
Thank you, Dan. It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to On the Line. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Verstandig Media, their advertisers, or their affiliates. If you have an idea, topic, or event you would like to feature on the Line, please email community@verstandig.com. That's community@verstandig.com.